All right, we are back. We are going to talk about something that to me is a really powerful, some mindset, some like identity work. But a lot of times whenever we start this whole journey, right? If you go back, and I know a lot of you have been doing this for a while and you're leveling up and you're taking your physique, your mind, your body, everything to the next level. Um, while there's still this place where we started, and most of us started from a place of pain. And the goal today is to show you that pain is a fuel source we can use, but it's not going to sustain us for the long haul. And so we're going to talk about pain versus pleasure. Or you can think of pleasure as like desire, like things you want and things you want to like do better, blah, blah, blah. And which one we're using to really reach your goals and push yourself to a next level because I think for most of us, high achieving women, we're like, let's go. Um, so let's get started. Let's go. All right, what I want you to do is just kind of pause and reflect. And it may be right now, it may have been in the past. It may be something that you into in the future. But there are times in our journey where we're crushing it. We're like doing the things. We're like getting closer to our goal. And it's like almost all of a sudden we stop, right? It's like we are like, what happened? What was going on? And a lot of times where our brain goes is like, okay, well, I used to be so disciplined. What's going on? Like, what's wrong? Or like, why can't I get back to what I was doing before? Or like you notice you're like, I keep self-sabotaging. Like, I don't want this, but I keep doing it. I keep doing it. Or you say something, and I've heard a lot of women say, I know what to do, but I don't know why I'm not doing it. And the biggest thing and the biggest question is like, okay, so why am I not doing it? Right? What is that friction point? What's getting in my way? Now, with everything, sorry, I don't know why my mouse is doing this like pause thing. Sorry. Okay. So, what I want you to think of is a lot of times the first thing is like, I'm self-sabotaging, right? That's what we say. But what if you actually are not self-sabotaging? What if it's not like a lack of motivation or a lack of discipline? And I'm not saying those things aren't important because they are. What if you've just simply outgrown the fuel source that lit you up and got you started, right? What if you've outgrown that? I bet you have, right? I can think back to myself and where I started in my journey. And if I was still trying to live with that fuel source that got me lit and started, I really truly don't believe I would be here standing and achieving the things that I want to do today. I mean, example, right? Like I just earned my pro card, um, and won my bikini competition and my pro card, and all that has done is lit a new fire. But different fuel sources, right? Totally different fuel sources that are lighting me up and moving me forward. So, with that being said, no, we'll just scroll slowly, be present in the moment. So, a lot of us are living in this peace with pain, right? When we start our journeys, a lot of it's because we're in some kind of pain. For me, it was because I was binging like a crazy lady. But it also was because I was really uncomfortable in my body, in my skin, in who I was and how I was showing up. And it just didn't feel in alignment with like who I showed up as, like outside of my nutrition and fitness, right? There was a lot of pain. And I did not want to be there anymore. I wanted something different. I needed something different. I was like, I do not want to be here. And it created enough, pain and like, let's go. Sometimes it's a health scare, right? You get like your blood work back, or you get Your doctor is like, oh, like this is happening. And you're like, no, like we're not doing that. You might even see this with your family members, right? You've been trying to like, come on, join this health fitness journey with me. And they get some news and all of a sudden they're like, okay, I'm changing everything, right? But that is something that we think of as like most of us got started. Not everybody, and you might be one of those people, no. But I would say most of us started because there was some pain that lit our fire. Now, pleasure is a great pleasure or desire is moving towards something, right? And that is a totally different fuel source. And I think when you look at where you are currently in your journey, like right now, which one is fueling most of your journey? Are you fueling your journey because you are currently in pain, right? Or are you now fueling your journey because you have more you want to achieve? You have pleasure and desire that you're like, I want, I want more and I'm going to. Like, there is a big difference between these two. We're going to talk about it. Surprise. But I want you to take a moment, even if you need to pause really quick, just to reflect, right? Really, really reflect which one has fueled most of your journey. And if your journey is long like mine, you might be like, you might be able to pinpoint, like, I can pinpoint different times in my journey where pain was the source. Like when I started my journey, pain. Then I think it shifted into a little bit more fear, to be real. I didn't want to lose it, right? I didn't want to lose my progress. And then it shifted into more pleasure. And then I would say when I got hypo again, it shifted into pain because my hormones were out of whack. I felt out of, I wanted to figure out, and I did not want to feel like that ever, ever again. So it doesn't even mean that your whole journey is going to be the like perfect line, right? Just like we say, weight loss isn't this like linear approach. It's not like you're going to go pain to pleasure. It might be like, right? Um, so take just a moment to reflect on that and really get kind of in that space of, you know, what kind of motivation or fuel source am I using? Now, and this is where sometimes we lack motivation because I hear women be like, I just need to get motivated. And a lot of times it's like the motivation you might be using is pain, which is no longer serving you. And I'll talk a little bit more about like why the pain is no longer serving you, right? But here are some examples, right? Pain, we're moving again. I know I'm repeating myself, but repetition is good. We're moving away, right, from something. Pleasure, we're moving towards something. So pain, usually it's like shame, fear, embarrassment, health scares, our clothes not fitting. Sometimes it's a relationship issue. Like even if it's not even a breakup or divorce, it could even just be like struggles in your relationship. Looking bad in photos, right? Or you think you look bad in photos. I bet you most people would be like, no, you look great. But what this does is pain typically creates massive quick action, right? I want this fixed and I want it now, right? Now, pleasure, this one doesn't have as much urgency for most people because it's a lot easier to kind of motivate yourself from pain versus pleasure. Not if you, I mean, you can. I feel like very motivated by pleasure and pushing myself and challenging myself. And when you're moving towards something, it's a little bit different than like the scale, right? And this number or this look necessarily. A lot of times it's like this feeling. And it's not just always just a feeling, but it's also like a push to challenge and better yourself, right? My motto, relentless pursuit of betterment. So it's like confidence, strength, energy, freedom, growth, adventure, excellence, becoming your future self. The beauty of pleasure and using pleasure as a motivator is pain will create action, but it will eventually fizzle out. There will be a time where the pain won't feel so painful. And once that pain kind of lessens, it's harder to be like, yes, I'm going to sustain this and keep this going, right? It's like, So pleasure is one of the best motivators that will create sustainability and longevity for the long haul. And a lot of times will even create down the road more purpose of like who you are and what you want to do in this world and everything else. It's why fitness and nutrition is such a catapult to like everything else in your life. So when we're looking at these two things, it's really like, where can we pull from? Now, why pain works, right? Why does pain just seem to like work for us as a motivator? Pain, like I said earlier, is like a threat, right? It's making you say, like, I am done. Like it's an urgency thing because when you our brain has evolved over time, but in its very primal sense, we were wired to survive, right? Not thrive. The brain is wired to see threat and try to survive that threat always. Now, in the past, it was more like your life at stake. Now, threats can be, a work email. Threats can be anything like, oh, I didn't lose weight on the scale this week. So when there is a threat, we act faster, right? There's fast action. We sense danger and we're like, let's go. I will do whatever it takes, right? I will be disciplined. I will eat a meal plan. I will do whatever, right? And we do that, right? We go sometimes to the far extreme. I will do whatever. But pain works, right? And that's why pain will always, always get your attention faster than sometimes that motivator towards pleasure. And sometimes I think our question is like, well, how do I actually use pleasure as a motivator? That's one of the pieces that we want to get to in our journeys always. And it doesn't mean, like I said, there might be times where you are acting out of like a pleasure-based motivator, but it may shift because life happens or things happen in your world and you have to pivot. That's just real life, right? One guarantee we always have is life is always going to happen to us. It's how we continue to navigate it. So pain works, right? It works. It works with how our brain was like organized, how it thrives. And the biggest thing is, like I said, it really treats it as like pain is urgent. Pleasure is optional, right? It's like I don't have because it's no longer a threat. Your body isn't in like that like let's go mode. It's like, well, this is cool. This is cool. But I don't feel that sense of urgency. And so like example, like when I started my journey, I was like I hate my body. I don't like myself. That's I hate saying that. It like gives me like such a ugh. But like that really was like no more. When I was like, I do not want to binge anymore. I do not want my kids to see me binge. I do not want to live that life. That was a threat, right? That was a threat. But then that shift into like, I want to become my best self. I want to be my next level self. While we might say those things, there's no urgency, right? There's no threat. There's no like fast action. Like there's no like, let's do it. Let's go. It's like, how do I shift modes? So pain will always create faster, more urgent action than pleasure ever will. Like it doesn't even matter. Oop, it doesn't even matter like later on in your journey. It will. It still will. Now there's always a hidden cost, right? If we only use pain, this is what will happen. So pain creates urgency, right? Urgency makes us take action. Yay. Good. Action equals progress. Haha. Like exactly what we set out to do, right? Let's go. Now, what happens when we start making more progress, right? You've probably done this before where you're like, okay, I'm like 5, maybe 10 pounds away from your goal weight, right? You're like 75% of the way there. Maybe you're more than that, right? But all of a sudden, it's like that 5 to 10 pounds, right? You're not in as much pain as you were when maybe you were like 25 pounds overweight, right? And so that less pain, guess what it does? It creates less urgency because you're not in the pain of when you started. When I was binging and I was like, I hate my body, I was in a massive amount of pain. And then when I got to a place where I was like, oh, kind of like it here. Like, this is great. I feel better. I look better, have more confidence. Like, my clothes fit better. Like, all these things, like, the scale weight, like, all these little things are like better. I was still not where I wanted to be, right? There was like a desire to be like, I wanted to be the bodybuilder. Like, I'm talking about past year. I wanted to be the bodybuilder. I wanted to go there. But guess what? The pain was not that bad. I was comfortable enough. And so what happens is pain becomes less of that like light and fuel source. It now isn't as urgent, right? It's now not a threat because you're like, oh, this is not too bad. This is not, and that's why sometimes it feels like I'm like, why can't I get that last 5 or 10 pounds? Why am I stuck here, right? Why am I stuck here? Like, and this is where we go back to this, like, why am I not as disciplined, right? Why am I not motivated? I know what to do. Why am I not doing it? Because the fuel source you're using, if it's pain, isn't going to serve you any longer, which is probably the most challenging of all. So, what can that do? Pain's going to usually show up as like, you know, shame, fear, breakups, or, sometimes it's like photos you see, you go to the doctor, your clothes aren't fitting, wanting approval from others, or even like sometimes from your friends or spouse or partner or whatnot. Um, there's that space where we look at pain and it's like, where is it showing up for you, right? Where is it showing up for you, maybe in your past, like of your journey, or maybe even right now where you're like, I am operating from a place of pain. And I'm not saying never to use pain as a motivator because it works until it doesn't, right? And that's what we want to be aware of. It's like when we start noticing that, like, we're not in as much pain, or we start to notice, like, I don't feel as motivated. I don't feel as like excited. Now, I will say sometimes motivation is also a lack of direction and clarity, right? Which also ties in with pain because it's like, I was in all this pain and I needed to feel better. Well, now I feel better, right? And so now that I feel better, even though maybe in my like heart and mind, I'm like, I kind of want to push to that next level, but I'm comfortable, right? So it's like the direction gets lost. The clarity that where am I going feels kind of up in the air because now it's like, well, what do I want, right? So pain is going to show up, but it's like, which one is driving you? Are any of these driving you? Is there something else I haven't said that's driving you, right? I just want to make sure I'm not skipping things. There we go. Yep. Let me see if I can. Nope. So, why we stall, right? This is going into a little bit more of like why we stall, but how we can start pushing through it. So, I want you to think of a mountain, right? And at the bottom of the mountain, this is where pain, right, is going to be. Now, at the very top of the mountain, this is where pleasure is going to be or desire, right? This is where that pushes. And in the middle of the mountain is discipline, right? Because it's almost like this shift we have to make in order to get there. Because pain's going to get us going, right? At the very bottom of the mountain, pain will get us started. But there's going to be a point as we get closer and closer to the summit up here that the less fuel you have. So eventually you must get excited, right? About the view or you'll stop climbing, right? You have to fall in love with climbing up the mountain, not just getting to a number, right? Or getting into a pant size, which is always exciting. But there's going to be a point, well, then it's like, now what? Like, now what, right? And this mountain is always about getting to the view, but not stopping at the view because guess what? We've talked about this before. There's always going to probably be another mountain. Like, I thought it was so funny. Like when I got my pro card, my mother-in-law actually was like, "Oh, so are you done now?" And I was like, "What?" What? I was like, negative. I want to get me one of the crowns. And even once I get a crown, because I'm gonna maybe not anytime soon, but I'm gonna work my butt off. You can bet your bottom dollar. Um, I want to go to Worlds and earn a world champ. Like I want to go. Let's go. So it's funny too that other people might start to talk to you about like, well, you look pretty good. Like you look amazing. Like and almost start to reinforce maybe some of those like stories of like, oh, this is good enough, right? And the reality is like there's always going to be another mountain, right? Once you get here, it's like, what's next, right? So it's this space of enjoying the journey and the process, which I know I've chatted on many times. But this is one of those things of how do we make that shift? So, we're not feeling like we're self-sabotaging. So it goes back to that piece, like I said earlier, where it's like, is it self-sabotage or is it really who you are and who you are becoming? Because it's like if you ever have like lost weight and then stopped, right? Started feeling confident and then kind of pulled back. Started getting compliments and then almost like disappeared. That's because just like everything, like our brain will always seek comfort, right? It loves the familiar. Your brain loves keeping things super simple and likes keeping things the same because change is a lot of work for your brain. If we keep everything just marching orders, your brain's like, cool, I can run pretty efficiently and fast. Anytime we change, there's a new cog that we have to like add in. So it makes things a little more clunky until we make it more habitual and routine and everything like that. So you basically becomes like the familiar feels a lot safer than pushing to a new level, right? And the brain loves safety. The brain loves to be like, yeah, we're good here. And when you're feeling comfortable enough, then that pain no longer feels heavy. The pain no longer is there, and there's no urgency to get you moving again, right? And that's where it's like, why am I not pushing? And so this is like that this all ties together. It's like your subconscious, we think it's self-sabotage, right? But what it really is your brain protecting your current state. And your subconscious will be like, this is more joy than we're used to. This is more confidence than we're used to. This is more visibility than we're used to. And what it does is it pulls you back, right? It pulls you back to the familiar. It pulls you back to like, oh, let's just go back to what we were doing. Let's go back there. Not because that big, beefy goal that you were like, ooh, that'd be so cool. I want to do that. Like, let's go. And now you're like, ooh, I don't know. Like, ooh, fear might pop in, or you're like, do I really want to like get uncomfy right now? Like, I kind of like where I'm at. Like, I kind of like this. And there's nothing wrong with liking or being there and it being like, I don't want to keep pushing. I think though, there's a lot of times we're lying to ourselves. I think when you have a vision or a dream or when I thought years ago, I was like, I want to do a bodybuilding bikini competition, right? And there was a point where I was like, I don't know, I don't know. But it was still like like in the back of my mind. When I look back, I'm like, yeah, I knew I wanted to do it. And I'm so freaking glad I did because had I stopped, I would not be who I am right now in this moment. And I absolutely love this version of me. I also know this current version of me is going to be leveling up. I, I just can't even like explain to you because I don't know yet. But like even from my very first competition, which was in November of 2024, to the one I just did in March, and then even then to the one we did in June, every every version has had to shift and lose some old identities and build new. And that's not because like the goal just became, it wasn't even about the goal. It was truly about who I wanted to be and the athlete I wanted to become and the journey and the process. Because like I don't care. Yeah, the stage is really fun, really cool. I love it. But I really love the journey of becoming. And even right now, as I'm stepping off of that at like a really my leanest state ever and going into an improvement season where I'm going to be putting on body fat, I'm going to be putting on muscle as well. Um, I'm going to be put into another shift of identity. It's when you get to this place and you want to pull back, but you have this goal biggest thing I'd say is it's not self-sabotage. It's that our identity hasn't caught up to your current goals and where you want to go. And that can be the hardest part because it's like, you've changed, you're like pushing yourself, you're doing these things, but there's still a little bit of a gap. So, this is just a really great thing. And I do have a workbook that I'll show you here in a minute. And that has like kind of some of this in here. But even if you want to just right now, as like I'm talking, right? Sometimes it's just you might be like having like a random thought or man, seriously, stop this video at any time and just jot things down, like journal it out, or um, I should have said this, maybe like print this work book out, and you can even just take notes on it too, just to have space to like get ideas out or thoughts. But these can be really powerful as we're thinking about the pain and what motivated you. And it's like the event that woke me up. I can tell you exactly what day it was, what moment, all of that. The pain that fueled me. My biggest fear, if I stop improving, right, is uh, that lives like with me all the time. If I no longer needed pain to fuel me, who would I become? So these can be really powerful questions to start thinking like, am I using pain? Or am I trying? Maybe I'm not really in pain, but I'm also not really tapping into pleasure either. It's like, what can we do to start being her and stepping into her? And just the reality, like I said earlier, a lot of times your nervous system just isn't feeling safe, because it's like it's always going to be in a place where your nervous system is like wired to survive. So, not success, not about fulfillment, not about ease, not about striving and pushing to the next level. It is more about like the chase, the pursuit, the fix, the proving. Like I'm gonna prove them wrong, right? Like you have like a chip on your shoulder. So when life gets better, when the body improves, when confidence increases, your nervous system doesn't know what to tap into next. And so that's where we want to shift, right? We don't want to stay here because, like I said, the biggest thing is like if we only use pain as a motivator, eventually you're going to have one of these three things happen, right? You achieve the goal, right? Now your pain is gone. So the fuel that got you here doesn't mean it's going to actually help you sustain it, which is why you may, if you've ever been in a place, and me included, right? Like I am talking about a past version of me where I know I've shared, like I used to be so good at dieting. I can lose the weight, but I struggled to maintain it because I lost the weight. I got there because I was in so much pain, but then I didn't have anything that kept me. The thing that kept me trying to sustain it was fear of gaining it all back, right? But I didn't have a new fuel source. I wasn't in pain anymore. And I wasn't really in a place of like sustaining what I had built. And so a lot of times this is where you might be like, I got to my goal. And then you're like, but why do I keep doing these things that I wasn't doing on, on this journey to lose all this weight or to build my, like, why is all of a sudden I'm feeling like I'm going backwards, right? I feel like I'm regressing. I'm not moving forward. Um, you might become comfortable enough, right? This is that like sometimes like this is one example, comfortable enough in the gym, like, oh, like I'm I'm pushing, but then you start to be like, like I'm comfortable though. Like I don't really want to push too hard. I don't want to be too tired later, right? Um, you feel comfortable enough in the gym, but you're like, but I really want to build my booty, or I really want to build out my shoulders, or I really want to continue to grow as much muscle as possible. It's like you don't ever quite hit your goal because you're just comfortable enough, right? Or this is that like last 5 to 10 pounds, which is like, oh, I'm comfortable enough. Even though I really want to lose that 5 to 10 pounds, it's like, it's not too bad here, right? It's okay. That's very real. Or then we have the last one, which is like you stay in pain for forever, right? That's extreme and dramatic. But you just become exhausted, right? Because pain using pain as a motivator, this fuel source will 10,000% burn you out. It will. Because trust me, you don't want to use pain for forever. You will be like, meh, and you will feel stuck and you will feel like this is exhausting. I hate this. That's why we don't want to use it for forever. Like I said, nothing wrong with using pain as a motivator, but the minute we're no longer in pain is the minute we have to make, well, you don't have to. I would personally suggest we do. But none of those are going to create lifelong success. So what we think, right, is okay, pain disappears, so my motivation disappears. Okay. What really happens is pain disappears, your identity of this next level self, right, was never built. So then what happens is your consistency just disappears. It's why all of a sudden your habits start to get a little wonky, right? And you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I not locking in? Why am I all over the place? Why do I feel like some days I'm on and some days I'm off? There's this missing gap of your identity that's like, we need to shift it, right? We need to start moving it forward. Now, as we do this, so the question now becomes, right? And this is maybe what you're like, okay, well, Zira, if using pain doesn't serve me long term, right? How do we switch from a pain focused fuel source to like a pleasure slash desire based fuel source, right? How do we make the shift? Because pain says, I never want to feel this way again. I take care of myself because I hate where I am. Or you could say, I do not like. I know hate is a very strong word. So a lot of times that's going to be feelings of like avoidance, fear, guilt, shame. We're like, very negative emotions, right? This is where you're fresh. This is where your negativity is like, I don't want to be here. Now, pleasure, right? Not negative, right? Positive, enjoyable, great, all the things. But it's in that place of like, we have a desire, right? And I like pain and pleasure because like it's a lot easier to remember of having the two P's, right? Alliteration is great. Um, but you can think of this as desire too. Like, what do I desire? What do I want? Where do I want to go with my physique? Or like maybe my physique in life and whatnot. So it's like, I can't wait. This is the difference, right? I don't want to feel this way again. I take care of myself because I hate where I'm at. Ah. And then it's like, I can't wait to become this next level version of me. That's what right now is fueling me as I go into this improvement season. I'm like, I cannot wait to build my physique and just see where we are next time I step on stage. Like, cannot wait. Um, to discover and learn more about yourself, right? I take care of myself because I love where I'm going. I love who I'm becoming. I love this journey. I love the challenge. I love the growth. I love being the like caterpillar into the cocoon into the butterfly. I love that. That is more about creation, desire, opportunity, possibilities. It's all about like this next state. And so, if we're not using this, what we want to start doing is looking at who we are, right? And building the bridge. So, this lovely picture, when we are talking about the shift, right? From this side to the other side, most people try to jump pain to pleasure, right? And the problem is you might be able to be like, ooh, I wanna, right? We say pretty things, right? We say pretty things. And I've also been there where it's like, ooh, like I just want to be a bodybuilder and I want to go step on stage. Amazing, right? Like, yes, but I have to bridge. I can't just jump, right? I want you to think that there's like a river underneath this bridge, right? And what happens is anytime we try to jump across this river with no, not walking across the bridge, just trying to jump, right? What's going to end up happening? We're going to fall right into the river. And when we do that, we're not going to like plot our way back over to pleasure. We're going to be like, "Rah," and we're going to be all grumpy and come back to pain and lean into pain harder, which isn't what we want. It's not serving us. We want to have to say, okay, the way to bridge this, the way to shift into more of a pleasure-based goal is your identity. And like I said earlier, what we think is I'm lacking motivation is really like, I haven't built my identity to match that next level goal, right? I haven't built her, and you freaking can build her. Absolutely. And it's going to probably take some pain. It's going to be going into that caterpillar state, right? A lot of learning and growing and shedding, and then going into the chrysalis and decomposing and then becoming the butterfly. That is this piece right here with your identity, right? And the biggest thing when it comes to identity is we need to figure out her and be able to start walking, talking, acting, being, doing, thinking like her. Now, this is kind of the way the phases can go. Sorry, I don't know why my mouse is doing this. There we go. So, phase one, right, is any journey. We have pain, right? That creates movement. We don't want this anymore. Fear, shame, embarrassment, health scares, whatnot. Boom. Okay, got it. Move on. Now, phase two isn't straight to pleasure, right? That's where we want to create the sustainability of like, this isn't hard, right? Maintenance doesn't have to be hard unless we just tell ourselves the story that this is hard. You know, building a lifestyle that you love doesn't have to be hard, but there's this middle ground of building your identity and building this place of discipline where we talk about discipline. And I like to say discipline is devotion to self, right? I'm devoted to myself. I'm devoted to my values. I'm devoted to my standards. I'm devoted to what I want and where I want to go. And that's the discipline, right? I do what I said I would do. Commitment, standards, integrity. Discipline creates stability, right? And with that stability, then we can move into pleasure where it's like, this is going to create this stability. And I'm pulled towards something bigger, right? I'm pulled to something that I just have this like impossible goal. And not that it's impossible, it's just like that, like in your head, you're like, can I do that? Yeah, yeah, absolutely you can. Unless you just decide you aren't. That's the only thing that's going to stop you. Nothing else. So usually your fuel here is going to be vision, purpose, identity, opportunity. We do not want to live in a constant fight or flight state for forever. We already know that that's not going to be good for our bodies, for our minds, for our hormones. So our goal, and I do have like an actual framework like that we'll walk through, but instead of thinking, what goal am I chasing, right? Because goals end. Goals will end. Like example, my goal to step on stage June in Florida ended. Done. There's now a new goal, obviously, but it's really about what feeling am I chasing? What things am I wanting out of this life? And nobody, and I know you're going to probably disagree with me, nobody wants a number on a scale, right? Like we think we do. We're like, "Ah, I just need to be this X number of weight. Um, the physique, once I have this physique, then I'm going to be confident. Or once I get that job promotion, then I'll have it all locked in, right? What we really want, it tends to be more of, I want freedom. I want confidence. I want safety. I want love. I want belonging. I want connection. I want significance. I want to be seen and heard. I want to be able to like give back to this world and have a massive purpose. And while like having a physique 100% does those things, nobody like I don't walk on stage with, hi, I weigh X amount of weight, right? It's all about what you bring that day, not just like your physique, but the energy, the confidence. Like that's really what it's about. So it's instead of thinking like, what goal am I like, because the goal's gonna end, the goal's gonna probably shift. And it's like, what feeling am I trying to create? Who am I trying to create? So there is this framework and it's called create. And each letter obviously stands for something. But this is how we can start to shift that identity from being like, okay, I'm no longer in pain. how do I start shifting this identity so I can step into a pleasure-based motivator and really use this as my fuel source, right? Because that is where we want to live our life for the most part. When we need to tap into pain, let's tap into it. But when we want to spend, especially as you reach your goals, it's like not necessarily like, well, tap out. It's like, no, I'm going to tap in to a brand new one. I'm going to tap into this pleasure. So each one of these we're going to go through. So C is create a future worth moving towards, right? So pain will usually ask us like, what am I trying to escape, right? When you're not in pain anymore, you don't want to escape. You actually are like, I want more and I want to become more and I want to create a future for myself where I live this beautiful life, right? Now, it can be things and thinking things like this, like in a year from now, I want to wake up and feel insert. How do you want to feel in a year? Like, I already know going into this improvement season, like, I want to really push hard and work like I always do in my workouts, but like, just every single workout just locked in as much as possible. And I know there's going to be days where my workout probably didn't feel as locked in and I didn't feel as like solid in it and I might have felt weaker or whatnot. And I want to make sure that I'm always constantly showing up as my best version of self and pushing my own standards, my own expectations of self, where I can push in every single way with like being an athlete, the foods I'm using, like really prioritizing rest and recovery, doing my cardio, continuing posing. Um, I'm doing mobility as well. I'm keeping in a lot of the pieces. And last off season and last improvement season, I didn't do that. I didn't keep imposing. I didn't really focus on mobility at all. And there's things that I'm like, I want to really be able to level. I want to go. Let's go. I want my relationships to feel. I want my body to allow me, like I'm working on a lot of mobility to really help with my posing. It makes a huge difference. And I want my body to be able to just get into poses without me like feeling like I have to put like really stress and strain my body. And like I want it to feel not that posing's ever going to probably feel easy, but better. Better. I want people to describe me as, or even better yet, I want to describe me as, right? I want to own this feeling and this, I want people to like, I walk into a room and they're just like, I give off this vibe, right? 100%. I want to be creating, doing, building what, right? That is always the space we want to move toward, right? Creating this future that you're like, this is what I'm working for. Like this gets to be the fun part where I get to push and challenge myself and I get to do it because I kind of love it, right? Um the the R, right, of create. So we've got C, now we've got R. This is where we reinforce the identity you're trying to build, right? And just like our brain, we need repetition in life. Your brain needs repetition. You need repetition of who you are becoming, right? We need to start finding the evidence. We need to start finding the clues of like, hey, I'm doing that. Hey, I'm doing that. So I want you to really think about this as like, what evidence am I collecting day to day that I'm becoming her, right? What makes me feel most alive during my journey? Like I said, even for me right now, it's like I am trying to keep in the posing, the mobility. Obviously, the training and nutrition are locked in. Like there are pieces that I already have locked in that I'm going to keep pushing and challenging myself and growing myself on. But there's other pieces that I'm like, I want to just really keep pushing this level of athlete that I'm becoming. Like I don't want to just stop and be just like, I mean, I don't think it's quite hit me that I'm like, cool, I'm a professional athlete. That's really cool. But I want more. I want more. And not because I really need a crown, to be honest. It's really about the journey of becoming her. And it's like every single future you that you are envisioning in your mind is going to leave clues to that, like clues, success leaves clues, right? So your job is to be a collector of those clues or evidence. So it's like, Did I nourish my body today, right? How did I nourish my body today? Did I train with focus and intention? Did I really push toward failure? Did I really give it everything? Am I noticing my form isn't locked in? Do I feel like something's off? Can I reach out to my coach and really get a video, even though I don't really want to because I hate filming myself in the gym, right? It's like, what am I doing to reinforce that next level version, right? Instead of staying cozy, right? Instead of staying cozy, did I speak to myself like an athlete? Did my actions actually align with my standards? Was I in alignment? Am I doing what I said I would do? What habits did I do this week that made me feel a certain way? Was it something with preparing your meals? Was it training hard? Was it progressive overload? Are you working on unlearning like old thought patterns or unlearning old habits or really focus on your recovery or getting really uncomfortable? Or really focusing on your sleep. Pleasure has to happen throughout your journey. I can't talk today. Bless us all. It's not just looking for it when we're done. And I think a lot of us do that. We're just like, when I get here, then I will celebrate myself. No, you won't. No, you won't. No, you won't. I know you. No, you won't. You're gonna keep pushing. So find the joy, find this space now, because we create your identity through your actions, which we all know, right? But this is where we reinforce it, right? Because if we don't reinforce it and if we aren't looking and searching for it, you're going to miss out on the moments that you're going to start going to that, like what you're not doing, what's not going well, right? Like it can easily shift to more of a negative energy instead of what am I doing? How can I grow? And the other thing I will say, and I know this they kind of work together. It's like finding the evidence, but it's also like celebrating this back, it goes back to like not just when we reach the mountaintop, right? Not just when we get to the end point. It's like, how are you celebrating yourself right now? Right? How are you enjoying the moment now? How are you seeing the like freaking wins now? Like, did you have better technique today in the gym? Did you like have more confidence when you walked in the gym? It doesn't have to be the gym, right? This could be anything. Just using right now, I'm really locked in on the gym. Like, even with myself, with this improvement season, I'm so locked in on my nutrition. I was really locked into my nutrition my last improvement season, but this time I'm doing things very like my coach wrote me another meal plan. I'm back on another meal plan. And I know some people will be like, Sierra, that sounds awful. That doesn't mean I'm married to it. But I do want to feel good. I do want to optimize everything. So let's go. Why not? Right? Like I'm pushing myself and challenging myself into this little bit of uncomfy zone. But I'm also totally okay if I want to add a cookie in. Yay me. Um, but there could be like better recovery, right? Like you're like, I've really been locked in on my sleep, right? I don't want to go to bed earlier, but you know what? I am feeling so much more energized in the morning. I'm just feeling so locked in. I'm making better food choices. I'm having better energy. I'm having the consistency. I'm bringing like integrity. I'm doing what I said I would do. I'm trusting myself more. Start like seriously, like be addicted with evidence, like finding the evidence of growth instead of evidence of perfection. And I think as women, we've been trained to be like, I need to be perfect. I need to have everything locked in. And when everything's perfect, then I'm, being good, or then I'm worthy of being celebrated. When it's like negative, this is going to be a messy journey, even as you like are trying to create a new identity or step into that new identity that to me is already within. I know I talked about this in the caterpillar cocoon butterfly, but the butterfly is already within the caterpillar, right? We just have to unleash her. We have to break her down and we have to decompose her in the chrysalis, or she'll just stay a caterpillar for forever, which isn't bad. There's nothing wrong with the caterpillar, but man, it'd be so cool to fly, right? Like think of a butterfly. They have freedom. They can go wherever. They're beautiful. They just float around and they're confident. Like they just exude this like confidence, in my opinion. Caterpillars don't really do that. Not that they're not building the confidence because they are the one doing it, but it's like pain is always like, I will feel successful when I get there. And pleasure's like, I will feel successful every single time I step into like those little moments that are like her or are her, and I'm doing it, right? I'm physically putting in the work to be her. That's it. That's where we want to go. Then we've got E, and obviously we're expanding our identity. So this is about, oop, I went too far. Bear with me. All right. When we are expanding your identity, right? Pain identity is I'm escaping this piece because I don't like it or I don't want it. Pleasure identity is like I'm expressing myself, I'm creating myself. And it's like we're really in that space of like, what would she, your future self, right? Or your, I like to say next level self or future self, like do today? Like, what would she be doing? And how do I step into her? Even if it's, not even like I need to do everything she's doing right now. It's like a staircase. You don't just jump from the bottom staircase to the top, right? You take a step and then another one and then another one. And then you eventually get to the top. So it's like, what's like one action I can do that I can put on repeat and practice that steps me into her? Or maybe there's three actions, right? It doesn't have to be just one. If you're like, I can handle more, I can take on more, girl, go. If three feels too overwhelming, pull it back down to one or two. Cool. Nothing wrong with that. But it's like, what would she do? The athlete, right? The one who fuels for performance, the one who values feeling good, the one who's intentional about her choices. Who is she, right? Who is the girl who does want to step on stage, right? Or who wants to say, you know what, I want to be able to go talk in front of a bunch of people and feel really confident. And who is she? And how is she showing up? Even if that is in your, nutrition and fitness and like your mindset, because all of it all ties in together. So we want to expand. We don't want to just stay put, right? We're not staying in the cozy zone. We also want to attach emotion. Um, Instead of thinking about like, I need to track my calories, my steps, my sleep, the scale number, we want to think, let's track energy, confidence, pride, like peace, strength, joy. What emotion do you want? Because the brain will cling to powerful emotions, right? You probably remember really terrible things that happen to you, because that's the brain trying to protect you. Like, we don't want to do that again. Let's try to like not do that. But you also probably remember really powerful positive emotions too. Like the day you got married or the day you had kids, or maybe it was like this moment where you got a job promotion, or like me standing on stage and earning my pro card is an example of like I was that moment. I'm still trying to find words to express like how I felt in that moment because there was like probably 70,000 emotions coursing through me. But those moments are real, and the power of emotion, if we can attach your emotions, not like negative, like I don't like where I'm at, that's pain, right? We're talking about pleasure. So it's like, what are those things I want, like freedom or energy or confidence, or those are the ones we want to start looking for and tracking. And then we go to T. We have to train our brain to notice pleasure because our brain is wired to find the negative. And especially as women, we are more wired for negative thinking than men are. And that's also because, innately, you know, kind of that motherly thing to kind of protect our young. It's embedded there. Now, humans naturally, I don't care if you're male or female, are scanning for danger, right? We are wired always to survive. And so the way to survive is to escape danger, always. So the brain, even on your journey of becoming, will always first seek what you did wrong, right? Where you could have been better. And there's nothing wrong with that because I see getting better and like I truly believe like failure plants the seeds to success, right? I am not perfect. I know there's things I will and am continuing to grow in even now, but if we don't stop and start to train your brain to look for, I call this Operation Look for Hearts. You tell your brain to look for hearts. Seriously, do this. Like, seriously, do this week for funsies. No, it has nothing to do with this. But tell your brain to look for hearts. Literally. Just tell every day when you wake up, throughout the day, hey, look for hearts. I promise you, you're gonna start noticing hearts in like the weirdest ways. I've had clients like been on a walk and like snapshotting me clouds and like, look at these clouds, it's a heart. These trees, look at this root heart, this rock heart. Like, I'm not kidding. If you start telling your brain to look for hearts, it's so funny because I've told myself that for years and I'll be like, ooh, like a heart in my chicken breast or oh, a strawberry or ooh, that blueberry squished on the ground looks like a heart. Or I'll find it in random places. Like it can be in my house, it can be outside, it could be like water droplets. Like I you tell there's literally a part of your brain called the reticulating activated system that literally looks for um whatever you tell it to. And it's like you probably have done this before with cars. Like you maybe you got a new car or you like a certain car and you're like, you're thinking about the car a lot and you're like, oh, I love this, that, I love that car, I love that car. And then guess what? Then you're like, ooh, look at me, I'm finding that car all over the place because you're telling your brain to look for it. So if we tell our brain to look for positive things or pleasure like throughout your day or where you are working towards something, you'll find it more and more and more because you're telling your brain to. Okay. So every night you can think of like three things that made you really proud of yourself today. And even on the hard days, it's really important to do this because it's shifting your perspective of like, well, things weren't perfect, right? That's where our brain goes. Well, things were perfect. Everything was messy. I hated, I want today to be over, right? But it's like, you know what? I still kept my habits even though this was a chaotic day. I was able to pivot. I still made really beautiful choices. And you know what? I leaned into my coach. I did da 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 da, right? Start looking for even in those hard moments because we're doing a lot more good. And we're also reinforcing, like, see, even when chaos strikes, I can still show up, right? I can still show up. Or three moments that made you smile today, or three things that you're just really grateful for today that you chose to show up for, um, it literally, and I mean this, literally trains and rewires and puts our attention where we want it to go. And the more we kind of lean in here, the more our brain will continue to lean in here. And seriously, Operation Look for Hearts. Do it. It's great. And then we got E. And this is probably, I don't want to say this is like the most important because they're all really actually important and they all work together to create your identity. But I said this earlier, goals end, right? Goals will end. They will stop. And I could be like, cool, I got my pro card. Like, I'm just going to go and keep everything the same and not change anything and go and do my pro show, my first pro show. But I didn't change anything. I didn't elevate my standards. Your standards never end, right? Goals do, your standards never end. They usually elevate, right? They usually evolve. They carry on and carry out your values. And your standards actually show what you value, right? And they show you how you carry those values day and day and day, right? Like every single day. And for example, you might take your food to work with you, right? You planned out your food, and people will be like, wow, like she's so disciplined, right? She's so disciplined to like being healthy and eating well. Like that shows you value what to them it probably shows that you value your health, right? It to you it might be like I value feeling good. I value taking care of my body so I have it for the long haul, right? I value making having really powerful energy. I value integrity, right? Doing what I said I would do. I value trusting myself. I value and your values are like pretty set in stone, I would say. Like but your standards can evolve. And so we want to elevate your standards of, okay, if this is what I value, if I value honesty, right? What are the standards that I do day in, day out that show honesty, right? For example, I don't go, ooh, I want a cookie, and then I don't log it in, right? I'm honest with myself. I log it in. And that means I'm also going to pivot my day, right? Because maybe I had my whole day planned and now I'm going to be like, you know what? Worth it. Cookies are worth it. I'm five, but worth it. And now I'm going to be honest with myself and say, hey, I'm going to stick to my goals. I'm also going to pivot my day. And that might mean my dinner might be a little less exciting, but that's a choice I decided I'm willing to make. And I am doing what I said I would do. I was going to hit my macros, right? That's that piece where it's like every little thing, your actions will carry out your standards and your values. And I think it's really powerful because, like, you'll see this of like, people you might admire, or even like things that you might admire within yourself, which 100% you should. Like, I know that like I value hard work and I will continue to show up and do those things. Like, I will work hard, I will do things to the nth degree. I lead by example. I'll keep promises to myself. I will train really hard because I'm an athlete and because I will want to grow and build muscle. Like, I know I'm going to not leave one dang rep on the table. Um, this is that really powerful place of, if you don't know what your values are and what you stand for, and I believe you probably do deep down, but you probably haven't like written it out, write it out. And then thinking like, okay, how does this work with like my life, my lifestyle, my nutrition, my fitness, my mindset? What are those standards? Like, how am I doing this day in, day out, right? And do I need to elevate these? Am I getting complacent? Am I maybe comfortable? Are these still in alignment that's going to help me get to my future self? And that's where we want to keep that space, because if goals end, then it's harder to stick with something, because once the goal ends, it's like, well, I don't have to keep doing it, right? But your standards, keep going, keep going. So, mhm. Okay, let me see. I think I went too far. Apologies. So, this is just back to kind of like, going through pain and pleasure. But there's this space too where, even as like a weekly practice, I know sometimes this might be too much. And if it is, great, don't do it, right? There's nothing in here or the workbook that I'm like, you must do. I am really big on reflection. I love to journal, which is probably like these questions, because my brain's always seeking, how can I be better, right? How can this next week Sierra, how can she beat last week's Sierra, right? Even if it's by like 1%, 1%, because that's what I want to just keep moving this forward. So it's like, what version of me am I creating, right? Just to reinforce, like, what am I working? Why, right? Why am I doing this? Who am I working to become? What, why do I want to become her? Like, what do I feel is going to serve me best? Like, where am I going? Right? Where am I moving toward? What part of this journey am I genuinely just like enjoying? Right? And it's like, well, how can I make this week feel even more enjoyable? Right? Even 1% more enjoyable. Maybe it's focusing a little bit more on like, you know, anything that's like draining you, drains and charges, right? Like, hey, I'm really noticing I'm super drained. I'm not having fun. I hate everything. Do a drains and charges. We need to check in with self. Um, what did I do this week that made me proud? What am I excited to do and become next? Right? Boom. Now we have this moment to just pause and reflect and head into the next week with intention of being 1% better. And when we're doing pain versus pleasure, right? Pain's going to awaken you, discipline's going to stabilize you. Pleasure becomes like that, sustainability piece where it's like, this is going to sustain you for the long haul, for the longevity, which is what most women want, right? I don't want to just do this like one time. I've done that, right? Where I've done it and then I've gone back. I want to do this for the long haul. And so it's like, I love who I'm becoming. I'm gonna sustain her. And then the last one, which I know we haven't really tapped into, but what can set off after pleasure is like you find this purpose of like, I became her and now I get to serve my family, my community. I get to lead others. I get to climb mountains. I get to mentor women. I get to travel. I get to compete. I get to be present. It just multiplies you, right? And it multiplies you because it creates this ripple effect into others, which is, one of the reasons why I personally love coaching so much is because I know what it's like to have my own journey, and I know what it's like to keep and keep leveling up. And I never want women to feel alone in that journey or feel like they have to be perfect in that journey because I'm not perfect. I'm messy. And so is everybody else. So is everybody else. Um, but it creates that next level you, and it just continues to multiply, right? Like even if it's like just your faith and everything, you just will give out the energy and be able to support others. And to me, that's everything. Like that goes back to like God's purpose of why we're here, right? Um, so any hoodles. Our biggest thing is even this week, right? If you do nothing else, if no other question, you don't want to do create, but even if you want to just pause and answer these four questions, this can be like a quick snapshot to just do like looking back, the pain that got you here, and then looking forward, what like the desire, what will keep you going, right? What are you really trying to shoot after? The standards, the identity, like who are you becoming, right? And then it's like one thing you're going to stop chasing this week, one thing you're going to start creating this week. Now, with that being said, that's my last slide. But I did create this workbook. And what I did do is I was going to make it pretty again, but I feel like this is so dang long that, especially if you're going to print it, it's just save ink. Or if you want to just type in this, I think it makes it a lot easier. The biggest thing I will say is please just make a copy of this because I have shared this as a link and you are an editor. So if you start writing on this document, everybody will see it. Not that anybody probably really cares and they'll be like, wow, this is really cool to see somebody else's, to be honest. I'm sure you want to like see your own. So if you go up here and go file, make a copy, right? And if you do that, you can change the name of it. You can put like Sierra's, actually, I'm going to do that. Sierra's Pain and Pleasure Workbook, make a copy. And so it'll bring up a brand new document. You can click out of that one, and then you have your own one. But this is kind of long. I'll be real. I kind of went a little crazy when I was creating this, but I say that because this can really take you through all of what we went through in this training. And it creates a space where you can type on here, or if you want to print it off and write, do it. Because it starts with like kind of like the trap and kind of looking back. So not to look back to stay there, but to really think of like, where are we going? Where did I start? Is this still serving me? Maybe it is. Maybe we don't need to leave here, or maybe we do, right? Maybe we're still trying to use pain as our fuel source when we're like, no wonder I'm not motivated, right? No wonder I'm not motivated to lose those last 5 or 10 pounds or 8 pounds or whatever it is, because I'm not in a lot of pain. And that's okay. You don't need pain as your motivator anymore because now we know there is a way to move through that. Um, there's like some audit pieces of like just where you tap into pain, right? I know for me, control, perfectionism, has definitely been mine. Fear would probably be one as well. Those definitely still pop up to this day. Like I still will notice, even during prep, this one right here, this one and this one got me. But it gives some like reflection tools. It has some space like of kind of like, looking through some different things, patterns we're noticing, um, still living in pain, shifting out of that. So kind of like things that we're wanting, identities we want to leave behind, the woman you're becoming, really diving into her. And then I have the like create framework down here as well. These spaces are meant to, obviously you can write in and all of that, but it allows you to have some space. And I did try to like leave space if you want to write here. So if you notice there's like a little bit of room. That's what it's for. But it gives you a little bit of this space to pause. And if you're a journaler, if this is something that serves you, or even if like the whole workbook doesn't serve you, but you're like, you know what? I really want to focus like on this E part, right? I feel like the other pieces I have locked in, but you know what? I couldn't tell you what my standards were. Like, I don't even, I'm not 100% sure. Like, I kind of know, but I kind of feel like when you ask me that, I'm feeling a little bit iffy. Cool, just focus on that piece, right? It doesn't mean you have to do everything in here. But what it does give is a little bit of opportunity to start really thinking forward, right? And really having some space to do that because let's be real, I know a lot of us will be like, I'll do that later. But later never comes because you obviously are so freaking important. And like, if you don't take care of you, no one else is. And I don't mean that people won't show up for you and all of that, but you're the only guarantee that you will have her forever. And you becoming the woman you want, I never want you to stop becoming her and expanding who you are and leveling her up in every possible way. But what I would say is this can definitely be a resource or tool, and it can be something you tap into now and maybe even come back to in the future as you continue to say, you know, I'm realizing I am losing motivation and I need to tap into my pleasure, but I'm stuck. Come back here, right? You can use this as many times as you need. And especially as you evolve, like I think back to who I was like even a couple years ago, like even before my first competition. And that girl did a lot of work, right? And then I think about where I am now and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even recognize her. And she was amazing and I loved her and I loved that she got us here because she did. She got us here now. But there's a space where I'm like, I probably will feel this way the next time I step on stage. It would be like looking back at right now, Sierra being like, she's leveled up in so many ways and I cannot wait, right? Like that's the exciting part of tapping into pleasure as a motivator because it's like I can't wait to see who I become and where we take me, my mind, not just my like nutrition and fitness, those are pretty locked in, but like my mind and my ability to be an even better athlete and what we're going to bring to the table. It's really cool. So any hoodles use this as needed. Like I said, I know it's BV. I think it's like 16 pages. Obviously, it's not all full of like there's space to write in, so it's not like everything. But hopefully, you know, even if there's some little pieces in here that you're like, I just want to really tap into this and really start to notice like patterns and really what's stopping me from moving forward. And of course, if you have questions, thoughts, bring it. We can always have conversation in this channel. And always, I always ask this, but if there is anything that you would like us to do another coach training on for, you know, next month or any future months, feel free to either message me or shoot it below. I always love to take recommendations from you all because we always want to make sure we're serving you what's in your mind, what's in your heart, if it's training, if it's nutrition, if it's mindset, if it's whatever. We want to keep bringing you the best so you can keep leveling up in all the beautiful ways. So, just let me know, pop it below, and I will see you next time. Yay!